Hello, fellow adventurers. Welcome to Artistic Adventures. We're going to continue our Facebook series today. You'll probably hear my puppies barking in the background. They're in one of their barky moods. But we're going to persevere to endure and continue this series. One thing I wanted to show you is I decided to show you a technique using pastels for color. So I redrew Dracula's eyes last night and left out the pupil because I wanted to show you how to use some pastels to color eyes as well as colored pencils. I'm trying to show you all the different techniques I can think of. The other thing is I didn't complete drawing this line over to the tear duct. I left it there. I'm going to work on that a little bit later and create the waterline. So basically we have the top line drawn, the tear duct area, and then the pupil. So this gives you, I'm going to let you see this so you can get a really good idea of the shape and the outline of her eyes before I begin. Alright, so let's start with her since we have her out and ready. And I'm going to use a paintbrush to put some pastel color down on her irises. Now I'm going to make her eyes purple so you can see it really, really well. Now the thing you have to worry about with this is fallout from the powder onto her face. So you might want to just tap your brush before you start and just try to use a small brush and keep the pastel colors within the area that you've designated as the iris. And you can always blow off the excess with, just blow it with your mouth instead of trying to brush it off, because if you brush it off, you'll just cause it to mark the skin. Okay, so there's how that looks with a little bit of the purple in it. And you can intensify that by putting extra coats on. And you can see I'm getting a little bit of fallout even though I dusted off the brush. But we're just going to blow that away, and usually that comes right off. So that's one way of putting down color. The nice thing about this is it's very smooth. Sometimes when you use pencils, you see, the pencil marks is not as smooth. The issue with this, though, is you're going to have to probably spray it with the matte finish after you get this color down, because when you go on top of that with pencils, it doesn't react as well. Okay, so we've got that one eye done, and I'm going to go ahead and put some white around that. Now we talked about last time that the white doesn't seem to go down as well as some of the other colors. Now you can build it up over time by using different coat or multiple coats of the matte medium with your spray, with your airbrush gun. I'm just going to go ahead and put down as much as I can after I've put the purple down. Now I'm going to go ahead and put purple on the other pupil. So we've got them, that's really a lot of powder. So we've got them basically at the same stage. We can go in on top of this with the pupil, the black, and also we're going to intensify this color some more as we go along. I think the purple looks good on Dracula just because I think her skin is so pink, and the purple and the pink really go well together. Okay, and we're going to put as much white as will go down. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but I got the pencil into the purple and it marked it into the white area. So I'm going to have to use something to get rid of that. I'm going to try dipping the point of this cuticle stick into the water and dampening it, and I was able to pull that off. So that's one way to do it. Oh, I meant to show you this in the first video and I forgot. You can also use a white eraser for some of your marks. Let's say you did eyebrows and you didn't like them. You can use a white eraser to get rid of some marks. When I'm using it, when I'm trying to get rid of these smaller areas, I tend to use the cuticle stick because I can usually pick up the color with the tip, and then I just wipe it off. If your tip gets dirty, you can use a nail file to sand this down and get it back to the wood, and that way you don't have to keep getting new cuticle sticks. So anyway, I think I've pretty much blotted that. So I'm going to add a little dampness to the white and see if I can get that to show up a little bit better. I am going to be putting some more coats of the matte medium on this, so I'm not too concerned about the buildup of the white just yet. We'll work on that a little bit more. Don't get upset if you make a mistake. Everything can be corrected. And if you have to, you can just wipe it all off and start over, right? So I've kind of got a lot of purple now spread around in there. I don't want to spend a lot of time on camera dealing with that. I'm just going to get it as best I can, and then we're going to move on, and I'll deal with this off camera when I get to the point where I'm going to respray it. Alright, but I just wanted to show you that you can use the pastels to color in. So I'm going to leave her as she is for right now. We'll work on her a little bit later. And I'm going to go over to this doll that we had already put the eyes in and work on that just a little bit more and show you how to do the color of the iris with colored pencils. When I'm using colored pencils for the eyes, I use two colors. So let's use this brown color. I'm going to use a dark brown color, which is this pencil, and a lighter brown color. You can even use really just white and then blend in this, but I'm going to use these two colors and start with the lighter color on the bottom. And I'm just lightly marking the pencil over that to get the color in there. I don't want it too dark. I want it to stay pretty light. This is just typical of a reflection of an eye because you've got the brow overhanging the eye and the lid overhanging. You're going to have a darker color up here and a lighter color down here. And that's just typically how eyes will look in normal light. And light's usually coming down from above, so you have the, the shading of the brow and everything, keeping the upper eye area darker. Okay, so now we've got some light brown in there. I'm going to go in with this darker brown. This is, I have no idea what the name of this is. They've got numbers on them. This is Faber-Castell Pencil 480. So I'm going to take this darker brown and just start going back and forth to try to get some of that color onto the upper part of the iris. You don't have to get it exactly how you want it this first shot. We are going to put some more of the matte medium down to allow us to build up the color. But we do want to get at least a layer of the color that we want on the eye before we do that. And then we'll be able to darken it as we add more. Okay. I'm going to go back in with the black pencil. And I want to show you something at this point. I'm going to be giving you little tips throughout. It's not something I normally do on my regular videos where I'm going fast. But instead of sharpening your pencil every time, now if you break the point, you probably have to sharpen it. But this is, it's still fairly pointed, but it is just a little bit dull. I want to just try to get a little bit more of a point on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip it in water, and then I'm going to run it down, twisting it as I do it on this paper towel. And what that does is it takes a little bit of the coating of the watercolor material off and sharpens the point. And if you need to do it again, you can see how dark that is when it's wet. Now you are going to have to make sure it's dry before you start drawing again, or you're going to get a really dark line. But at this point, the reason this is important is every time you sharpen your pencil, you're wasting part, you're going to waste a portion of it by trying to get it down to a point. And your pencils are expensive, so this is just a technique that I started using just to give yourself another way to sharpen the point when it's not completely broken or broken off or dull, completely, blunted off. This gives you that nice sharp point again. All right, so that's one tip. So we're going to go back in with this doll, and I just want to darken up the lines around her eye, around the iris, and also the pupil. Now the way I typically work on dolls is I don't just do all the things about the eye and then all the things about the lips and then all the things with the nose or whatever. And the reason is I try to do everything to a point that I need it to be before I put on another coat of the matte medium, so I spray it. So we're building up color all over the face, but because of the way I'm doing this tutorial, I am trying to focus on each spot individually, so it's a little different than how I normally do the actual face up. And you'll feel that too once you get into the rhythm of working on the face. And now I'm going to try to get that bottom line just a little bit darker. And the crease that I put in. So you'll find that when you're making these marks along the curve indentation of the plastic, they're kind of easy to do, but when you start making your lines on just a flat piece of the plastic, your pencil tends to kind of go all around. So just be very careful, go slow, there's no hurry, and remember that you can always go back and wipe it all away and start over if you make a really big mistake. So don't be afraid to get started. This is just you being creative and doing what you want to do. And everybody's eyes look different. Or, the way you draw them will look different because that's your expression as an artist. You don't have to be upset just because your eyes don't look like somebody you saw on YouTube. I know I have a favorite face-up artist, and I've yet to feel that my drawings look like hers. But I do like watching her. I like watching her techniques. So I'm putting in some more of the white color, and it's showing up a little bit more on her. Maybe it's because of the color of her skin being so gray. And this was the eye that I think I put a little bit of water in the pencil on the last video. And that's actually made a little splotch there. Let's see if I can get rid of that because it kind of looks fakey. So you can see how I'm using this point of this cuticle stick to get rid of that splotch of white. So for this eye, I'm going to go in and do the same thing. I'm going to just darken up the upper lid, the lower lid, and the tear duct, and then we're going to also darken up the area on the outside of the iris a little bit. And also we're going to work on the pupil. So when I first drew the pupil, I wasn't like all that super careful to make it completely round, but as I get it darker and darker, I am trying to be more careful to make it round. And also you can see now this one I think is a little bit bigger, and also it's closer to the upper lid, so whoops, I didn't mean to make that mark. So there's another way I can use my cuticle stick to get rid of that accidental mark there. Whoops, black. So I'm going to try to extend this pupil up a little bit, make it just a little bit bigger. This is always hard for me. My hand shakes. I don't know about you guys. But I was responding to somebody talking about how hard it is to do the whites. And some people actually do use acrylic paints for their whites. But my hands are not that steady. So I have done it when I'm working on some of the Bratz dolls. And I'm trying to do, you know, the minimalistic look on the Bratz dolls. I'll use paint. And I'll probably show you that. I have done some videos on that. You can look for it. Alright, so I think I've got the pupils kind of on the same. You have a little spot here. Use a brush instead of your hand to get rid of it, so you don't make any unintentional marks on your dolls. Alright, so... oh, I didn't darken the crease up here. Okay, and I'm just going to go back in with that dark brown a little bit more. And this doll is about ready for another coat of the matte medium. Alright, so we're going to put her aside with Draculaura. And now we're going to work on this doll alright, so now we're going to work on this doll that has the two different sized eyeballs, and I'm going to leave them that way just because I want you to see the difference. These dolls aren't going to end up staying this way. I'm going to end up taking all of their faces off, probably. Especially this one. So for her, we're going to use blue just to show you some different techniques. So I'm going to use these two colors, a dark blue and a light blue. So I'm going to first go in and try to give her sclera some whiteness. Now I can tell that a little bit is transferring. You may not be able to tell it on the video screen. So I'm just going to do this so that the next time we spray her, I can put a little bit more in, make it a little bit whiter. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put some pink in her tear duct. I'm going to try a little bit darker color, see if that'll show up better. Yeah, that's showing up a lot better. Can you see that now? Yeah, I've got the... This is a darker red color, and it's showing up more like pink on her skin. So I've got the red in there. And I've put down a little bit of the white on the sclera. So now I'm going to go in with this light color blue on the bottom part. And just going back and forth like I did on the other doll. And you can see where using the pastels is more satisfying. You seem to get more color right away, but there are advantages to both ways, and once you play around with it a little bit, you'll see that there are reasons why you want to use pencils in some situations and the pastels in others. But you definitely, with the pastels, you're going to have to put down the matte medium before you do a lot more work. Whereas with the pencils, sometimes you can just build up the color the way you want without having to do that. So, I've got a little bit of this blue showing up now. And we're going to go in with this darker blue and color in the top part. And the other thing, as I said, with the pencils, you're going to see the pencil marks a lot of times, and with the pastels you have more of a flat finish. So that's another benefit of the pastels. Some people can even use airbrushes to put paint on the eyes. I haven't got that talented yet with my airbrush. I tend to use it more for just putting on the finishes at this point. Not to say I won't in the future, because I always like to learn new things. And you may want to try it on, just try it on some paper and see if you can direct it into that small space. Alright, so we've got that darker color there, and we're going to come over here to the other eye, the shaded eye, and put some color back on there. And just going back and forth, kind of in a sweeping motion. This way you kind of keep, even though you see the marks, they're all in the same direction instead of, coloring all over the place. Alright. I'll come down just a little bit further there. And you can see this blue is really showing up very well. Some pencils, they just show up better than other colors. That's just how it is in the watercolor pencil world. Alright, so now we've got those colors down. I'm going to go back in with my black and do a little bit darkening. This is part of the process. You just are constantly going back and doing things over areas that you feel need more color. So while I'm doing this part, I'm going to go ahead and blacken the lines and the pupils. I had some news I wanted to share with you. I have not been working in my official profession for about 1.5 years because my husband and I left Norfolk and took our sailboat down the intercoastal to Florida. And we had actually planned to continue on over to the islands and do some sailing over there, but you know how life tends to interrupt your life and screw things up. So we had a few of those things happen, and ended up having to sell our boat, and we bought a very small place here in Florida just because we didn't really know what we wanted to do. It's a manufactured home, so it's very tiny. And we decided probably over the last few months that this place is just way too small for us. So I've decided to go back to work. And my professional profession, I guess you call it, is I'm a nurse practitioner, so by going back to work, it'll enable us to purchase a little bit larger house, you know, because I'll be making more money. Not really making much money. Well, I'm not really making any money on YouTube right now because I don't have enough subscribers yet. But, you know, I had certainly hoped that that might be a profession I could carry into my retirement because it's something that I really, really enjoy doing. I really love the creative work, and I never had the chance before in my other life when I was working as a nurse practitioner because I spent so much time working at that job and also as a writer. Plus, I didn't really have, you know, room on the boat. Now I have a room set aside, although it's very tiny. I have room set aside to work on my YouTube videos, and I certainly want to continue that. It's definitely something I want to continue because I've found another benefit, which is I really feel like I've made so many wonderful friends doing these videos with all of you guys. And I really enjoy talking to you and responding to your comments. And I almost hate that as I grow, I may get to the point where I can't do that as much. But for now, I'm really enjoying, you know, sharing comments, the Facebook page where I would love to see more of your work posted. I know some of you have shared some things with me, and I appreciate that so much. I really love that people are taking the opportunity to be creative because that wasn't something that I was always able to do, and I really hope that you guys are able to do that. So my news is that I am going back to work, and today I think it's the 21st of July, and I'll be starting on July 31st, and I'll be working as a nurse practitioner here in Florida. And also that we have put a contract down on another house, so we're waiting to hear back from that. And if so, I'll have a little bit more room, although less time, to work on my YouTube channel and my creative stuff, but I'm not going to give it up. I'm going to keep going because it's something that I enjoy, and I really feel like I've met some great friends, and I love that you guys are all, you know, like talking to each other too and supporting each other. I love that. I love this community. And I really love you guys and your support. So I will definitely keep doing the videos. I hope that I can do them as frequently as I'm doing them now. If not, you know, that's okay. I'll still be doing them, and it's something that I want to do for retirement, and hopefully, you know, we'll be able to continue through that. But I just wanted to let you guys know all of that news and give you a heads up about everything that's going on in my life. And I'll share my new space with you once I get moved, if everything works out the way we plan. And I'll do a before picture of my small little tiny room here and then one of the bigger room when I get moved so you can see where I'm working. Alright, so I've darkened these areas, and I really want to put a little bit of darkness on the iris on top of the blue. So I'm going to take my black pencil. This is another thing that you can do, use more than one color to give yourself some darkness up here. So I'm really just darkening down. I could use a dark, maybe a navy blue, but I don't have that pencil handy, and this is going to work fine anyway. So instead of it being that blaring, huge eyeball, you know, shading it really does help cut down on how bulging it looks. Remember, the darker colors make things sink in, and the lighter colors make things stand out. Alright, so do the same thing over here just a little bit, not quite as far down, because it's already, this pupil's already more hidden than the other. Alright, so I'm going to take a card and show you the difference. Okay, so you've got that eye, which Now it's looking not quite so bulgy, right? So you can use that doll and not do the lidded look, and I wanted to show you that. And then you can see the difference here where we've cut down the sides of the eye. You see there's a little bit of a hidden expression there, which is kind of a little bit mysterious. Whereas this is pretty wide open, and she's not really hiding anything there. She might even be a little bit surprised or something like that. Okay, so we have that doll, we have this doll, and we have this doll. Now I'm going to turn off the camera and do a little bit more matte spraying with the airbrush, and then I'll come back and show you a couple more finishing touches on the color of the eyes. Alright, so hang on. Okay guys, so I went off camera and sprayed their faces. Well, I sprayed it on camera, but I let them dry off camera. And now we're going to go back and do a little more work. So now that she's dry, I'm going to go ahead and put her pupils in. Now you'll notice as you put more coats of this matte medium down, it gets easier for the colors to adhere and easier to see what you've done. So that went down pretty easy. And we'll do the same thing over here. Now I don't have a darker color purple to use for the top, so instead of that I'm going to use some brown and maybe even some black on the iris. I'm going to go over this again, and as you can see it's easier for it to get darker now that I have another coat on. Same thing over here. And we'll come in and do this part of the under eye. Alright, and we'll go back in with some white for the sclera. And I'm also going to outline the irises again. Getting the tear ducts, I forgot to do those again. So I hope those of you who are following along and doing your own dolls will post them on our Facebook page. I'd really like to see how they're looking, how your work is coming along. It's not just for me to post. Actually, I hope it's more for you to post than me. I do post some things on Instagram, but I've packed up some of my dolls since I guess we'll be moving and haven't really done a lot of Instagram posts recently. Okay, so we've darkened everything up a little bit more. Now I'm going to take this, it's not very dark, this is sort of a light brown color, and go in right at the top of that purple and do a little bit of shading to darken up the top of the eye. Same thing over here. You know, I just thought of something I should have tried. I'll try this on another face up, but something you could try too is you could also put down the white as a pastel instead of pencil. I haven't tried that. I'll have to try that. Okay. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to darken up the pupils a little bit more. Every time you add more color, you get more of a vision of how, the face will end up looking, and it starts to look better and better, I think. Okay. Now I'm going to slightly extend this, very lightly, over to the tear duct. Now you remember I had the double lines on this yesterday so that, just put that mark on her face. Okay, there's another example of how you can use your Q-tip. All those random marks can be marked away. Alright, you remember that I did the waterline, so I'm going to come back in with this darker brown instead of the black, and it's got a really good sharp point on it, and I'm going to go just underneath this black line and carry it over part of the way for the waterline. Don't get too far from the bottom lid though. You don't want it to be too wide a gap. Okay. And have that just sort of trail off faintly. Now, if you want to put some creases in her eyes, you can do a single crease, or you could add some wrinkles in there, that are more than just a single crease. But you could start with a single line that goes over, and then if you wanted to split it and have another crease, you could do that. You can even do that with the front part too. And we'll do the same thing on this eye. And all these little marks that you do add to her expression. You'll see too when we add the eyebrows, that's another part. I'm just darkening this up a little bit. And then I'm actually going to go with black up at the very top, just to add a little bit more depth to that upper eye. Okay. You can see we're getting some dimension to the eyes. It doesn't look so flat and expressionless. Right? Alright, so now I'm going to put in some eyelashes. First I want to darken this one line just a little bit. That's the brown line. Alright, for this you want to make sure again that your black pencil is very pointed. So I'm doing my trick with the water and rubbing it on the paper towel to get a really, really sharp point. And then I'm just going to make some really tiny lash marks coming from that brown area. And I get fainter as I get closer to the end there, alright? Darker near the outside edge and longer. Same thing with the top. Longer and darker on the outside. Shorter and fainter as you get closer to the inner corner of the eye. That's just how I do it. Lots of ways other people do it. And you may find you want to do it a different way. Okay. Now I'm going to leave. I'm not going to do the other eyes. We're running out of time here. But I want to go back into this doll. And I want to darken that up a little bit. Because she has also got a second coat of the matte medium on her. And it makes it much easier to get darker colors. Going in with this darker brown on that upper part of the eye, iris, to get a little more of that color up there. And I just broke it. But I'm using one corner of the tip, so I'm not going to sharpen it just yet. But I think we're starting to get that a little bit darker, and you can see the contrast between the dark at the top and the light at the bottom. And then just like on the purple, I'm going to go at the very top and add some black. Coloring in the iris, the pupil just a little bit more. And we'll do the same thing over here. Okay. I don't think I ever put, I didn't put the pink in this eye. You can see there's so many steps here, and that's why it's hard to do one of these in slow motion all the way through. I think it would be an hour. I'm pretty sure it would be an hour if I did that. And I'm going to put a little bit more white in there. The white's showing up much better on this doll. Alright, and now we're going to go in and put some lashes. Same scenario. Longer, darker on the outside, and then shorter and lighter as you get closer to the inner corner of the eye. I think I'll try to put some fake lashes on the other doll, but I'll do that later, because that's another technique that we can use. Okay, so I'm not going to do the other doll since I'm going to try to put lashes on her. But one thing I do want to add is some white dots to the eyes to make them... Oh, I know what, one thing I did want to do with this doll is add some black up at the top and darken the pupils a little bit more. So we've got a nice contrast for her eyes. She's got the blue. Alright, I'm not going to do top lashes, but I will do bottom lashes. And then we'll try to put some fake lashes on her later. I don't like to put them on while I'm doing work on the dolls because they can get pulled off. And they're hard enough to put on anyway as far as I'm concerned. Ooh. Alright, so I think we got her finished. Alright, so now I'm going to use a little bit of white acrylic paint. Put a little dot over there. You don't need much because we're just using a dot of it. Alright, and now I've got two tools that I use for this. You can either use this, something like this, which is a sharp pointy tool, or if you want, and this will make a very fine dot, very small dot. If you want to make one that's a little bit bigger, I use this tool that I got with my set of brushes that are for nails. And this is used just to do some nail work. And it's just a little point, but it's got a little ball on the end. Okay, I think you can see that. Alright, so I'm going to use this, and we're going to go in and put some sparkle in their eye. And you just need a little dot. And a lot of people do this in different areas. But the one thing I do is I put it on the same side of both eyes. So like I don't do it over here and over here, I do it here and here. So we'll go in and do that. And this is like a bigger dot than the one below it. Didn't get quite enough stuff. So bigger dot there. Oh gosh, why is this being so mean to me? Try this again. There we go. I think I got it on there now. And some people will put another dot over here. You can play with it. It's however you want. Alright. So that's how she looks so far. And that's how these guys look so far. I'll finish up the eyelashes on these two off camera so they'll be ready for our next section. I hope you enjoyed this part, putting the color into the eyes. And we'll be doing more steps and more videos. So give me a thumbs up if you like this series and what we're doing so far. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. Thanks, and bye.